3 a.m., my mirror showed a room that isn't mine. They say mirrors show us the truth. But what if they show us something else? What if, just past midnight, your reflection revealed a place you've never been, a room you've never stepped into, yet it feels like it knows you? That happened to me. And every night since, it's been getting closer. I live alone in a modest apartment above an old bookstore. The ceilings are cracked, the floorboards creak with every step, and the smell of paper and must linger in the air. It's not luxurious, but it's home, or at least, it used to feel that way. My bedroom has one large mirror, a hand-me-down from my grandmother. It's old and heavy, framed with tarnished brass serpents that coil at the edges. She told me once it was a watching glass, an odd thing to say, but she was always cryptic. I never paid much attention. Until last Thursday. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the air felt off. Heavy, like it was holding its breath. I checked my phone. 2:56 a.m. By 3 o'clock, I was still lying awake, staring at the ceiling. A soft creak came from across the room. At first, I thought it was the usual settling of the building, until I looked toward the mirror. I froze. The room reflected in the mirror wasn't mine. Same layout, same furniture. But everything was off. Instead of my beige bed sheets, the reflection showed blood-red covers. The light fixture above had strange looping shadows that danced even though the room was still. The mirror version of my window had its curtains drawn open, revealing a pale blue moon I couldn't see in my world. And worst of all, there was someone standing in the corner. They weren't in my room, only in the mirror. A tall figure, blurry around the edges like static on an old TV, stood with its back to me. It didn't move. It didn't seem to breathe. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and looked again. Still there. I shot up from bed, heart pounding, and turned the lights on. The mirror showed only my room again. My real room. Empty. I laughed nervously, chalking it up to insomnia and my overactive imagination. Maybe it was a hypnagogic hallucination. Stress. Shadows. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day was uneventful, but the memory clung to me like a fog. Every time I walked past that mirror, I half expected to see something strange again. I told myself not to look. But of course, when 3 a.m. came again, I did. And this time, I wasn't dreaming. The reflection had changed again. Same red bed. Same moonlit window. But now, the figure was gone. I stared into the mirror, searching every inch of the reflected room. That's when I noticed the closet door, slightly ajar. In my real room, it was closed. But in the reflection, it hung open like a crooked grin. I leaned in closer. Something was behind the door. I could only see the edge of a pale hand wrapped around the frame. I stepped back, cold sweat beading on my forehead. Then, snap. The light bulb overhead flickered and burst. I jumped, stumbling back onto my bed. Shards of glass rained down with a high-pitched hiss. In the moment of darkness that followed, I swear I heard breathing, ragged, slow, hungry. When I turned the flashlight on my phone toward the mirror, the reflection was gone. Back to normal. Just me. My room. My bed. I didn't sleep again that night either. I avoided the mirror the next few nights, draping a sheet over it and trying to convince myself none of it had happened. But on the fifth night, curiosity won. I couldn't help it. 3 a.m. came like clockwork. I stood in front of the mirror, heart in my throat. The sheet was gone. I didn't take it off. I didn't even touch it. And the mirror? It no longer showed my room at all. Instead, it revealed something else entirely. Stone walls. An iron bed frame. A room that looked like a cell. Chains dangled from hooks in the ceiling, and dried, brown smears trailed along the floor. I could smell something metallic and sour in the air, even though the room around me was clean. Then, movement. A face appeared, slowly rising into view behind the glass. It was mine. But not. This version of me was gaunt, pale, eyes hollow and ringed with bruises. It smiled at me, not a friendly smile, but something cruel. Like it knew things I didn't. Like it had been watching me for a long time. I backed away, but my reflection didn't. It stayed close to the mirror, hand pressed against the glass like it wanted to come through. That's when the whispering began. It was faint, like wind through leaves at first. Then it grew sharper, more coherent. A voice, my voice, hissing from somewhere behind the glass. Let me in. I ran. I didn't look back at the mirror. I didn't care if it shattered, or if that twisted version of me came crawling out. I just needed to get out. I slept on the couch in the living room that night, lights on, TV playing static for background noise. But the mirror didn't stop there. The next night, I found a note on my pillow, written in handwriting identical to mine. You looked. Now I see you. I didn't write it. I hadn't been in the bedroom at all. I called my landlord the next morning and demanded to know the history of the apartment. She seemed caught off guard, said it had been empty for years before I moved in. No known incidents. But when I asked about the mirror, she paused. That old thing. Thought you would have tossed it. Belonged to the last tenant. Left in a rush. Strange guy. Always up at night. Never opened his curtains. One day, he just vanished. That night, I set up my phone to record the mirror. At 3 a.m., it started glitching. Static burst across the screen. The camera shook, like something was interfering with the signal. When I reviewed the footage, I saw the same red-lit room I'd seen before. But now, the reflection didn't just show the room. It showed me, sitting on the bed in the red-lit space, staring blankly at the camera. And behind me, the shadow figure stood once more. Only this time, it was closer. Its hand was resting on my shoulder. I haven't slept in days. Every time 3 a.m. hits, I feel the room shift. The air changes. And I know, whatever that reflection is, it's more than just a trick of the light. It's a window. Or worse, a door. And something on the other side is trying to cross over. I don't know what it wants. But tonight, for the first time, I swear I saw my real reflection blink after the one in the mirror. And it smiled. You ever feel like you're being watched? Not from the outside, but from inside your own home? What if the thing watching you wore your face? After what I saw in the mirror, after the thing pretending to be me smiled, I knew it wasn't just a bad dream. It was a warning. And I think I'm running out of time. I didn't go to work the next day. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that twisted version of myself. Vacant eyes, that same crooked grin. It wasn't just a reflection anymore. It was something else. Something with purpose. I spent the day trying to convince myself that I was safe. Rationalizing. Telling myself there must be some psychological explanation. Maybe I was suffering from stress-induced hallucinations, dissociative episodes. I even Googled mirror-based delusions. Capgras delusion. Specular psychosis. But none of them fit. This wasn't a delusion. I wasn't mistaking someone else for myself. The mirror was. Around noon, I decided to cover the mirror again. Not with a sheet this time, but with duct tape, black trash bags, and even a layer of cardboard for good measure. I used every ounce of tape I had. I wasn't taking any chances. That night, I slept with the bedroom door shut and locked. Still, I woke up at exactly 3 a.m. My phone's screen lit up on its own. Full brightness. No alarms. No notifications. Just the time. 3 a.m. And something was scratching at my bedroom door. Slow. Rhythmic. Like long nails against wood. I stayed frozen in bed, blanket pulled tight around me like that could protect me. The scratching continued for a minute. Then it stopped. And I heard the knob turn. It didn't open, thank God I'd locked it, but the slow, deliberate click of the handle twisting made my skin crawl. Who, or what, was trying to come in? The next morning, I checked the hallway outside. Nothing. But in front of the bedroom door, scrawled in what looked like dark grease, or blood, were 5 words. "You're on the wrong side." I wanted to scream. But what terrified me more was that there were no footprints. No sign of intrusion. No evidence anyone had entered my apartment. Except, when I checked the bedroom again, the mirror was uncovered. The tape had been peeled away cleanly. No rips, no force. Every strip removed, one by one, and folded neatly on the floor beside it. And the mirror was fogged over from the inside. I knew I couldn't stay there anymore. I packed a bag and left for my sister's place across town. She wasn't home, out of the country on business, but she'd given me a key months ago, just in case. I figured I could stay for a few days until I figured out what was happening. That first night away was quiet. No mirrors in the guest room. I made sure of that. No scratching. No whispers. I slept for the first time in a week. But peace doesn't last long when something is tethered to you. The second night, I dreamt I was standing in front of a mirror again, except this time, I wasn't in control. My reflection moved on its own. It raised a hand, smiled, then mouthed a single word. "Switch." I woke up gasping, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break my ribs. I bolted upright, and saw something on the nightstand beside me. A photograph. It hadn't been there the night before. It was a picture of me, asleep in bed, taken from above, like someone was standing over me in the night. And behind me, just barely visible in the photo's shadows, was that same static, faceless figure. Closer now. Right behind my shoulder. I left the house that morning in a daze. I didn't go home. Didn't go back to my sister's either. I drove aimlessly, circling the city in my car, until I found myself parked in front of an antique shop I'd never seen before. It was sandwiched between 2 closed-down businesses, with no sign above the door. Just a cracked wooden frame and a dusty front window filled with old clocks, faded books, and mirrors. Dozens of mirrors. I don't know what compelled me to go in. Maybe I hoped someone there would understand. Maybe I was desperate. But the moment I stepped through that door, I felt it. Something shifted. The air was cold, still. A woman stood behind the counter, elderly, eyes like polished coal, unmoving. "You saw it, didn't you?" she said without introduction. I froze. Saw what? She didn't blink. The other side. I don't know what's happening to me, I said. The mirror. It shows things. Things that shouldn't be there. Things with my face. She nodded solemnly. There are mirrors that reflect our world. And there are mirrors that remember older things. Things that were once trapped, but want back in. I wanted to scoff, but my body was trembling. She handed me a small silver charm, an antique key, no bigger than my pinky finger. Put this above the mirror. If the glass darkens, do not let it break. Whatever's on the other side. It's waiting. I returned to my apartment at sunset. I shouldn't have. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to check into a motel and burn that damn mirror to ash. But part of me needed closure. Needed to face it. I walked into the bedroom slowly, keeping the key in my hand. The mirror was uncovered again. But the room it reflected wasn't mine. Not even close. It was the stone cell again. But this time, there were dozens of mirrors inside it. All cracked. All fogged. And standing in the center was me. That same hollow version. Eyes sunken. Skin pale. Smiling. It stepped forward in the reflection. I took a step back. But then I noticed. My real reflection didn't move. I turned and ran into the bathroom. I stood in front of the mirror there, flicked the light on. My reflection stared back. It looked normal. But as I leaned in closer, I noticed something I hadn't before. My reflection was breathing, out of sync with me. When I blinked, it blinked a second too late. And it smiled again. I'm not sure who I am anymore. Each night, It gets harder to tell whether I'm on the right side of the mirror, whether I'm still me, or something else pretending to be. The key is above the glass now. And tonight, just after midnight, the mirror began to darken. Whatever's on the other side. It's not done yet. They say mirrors show us who we are. But what if yours showed you what wants to replace you? It's been 3 nights since I watched my reflection move on its own. Since I saw it smile after I stopped smiling. And now, the line between this world and that world is beginning to blur. Because last night, the key didn't stop it. I woke up again at 3 a.m., like clockwork. The silver key the woman gave me was still hanging above the bedroom mirror, its edges glinting faintly under the moonlight. But the glass beneath it had turned completely black, like a pool of ink. No reflection. No light. Just an endless opaque surface that seemed to drink in the room around it. I approached it cautiously. I could feel a vibration in the floorboards, like a low hum, or was it breathing? Suddenly, I heard a soft tap 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 from inside the mirror, like fingernails gently testing the glass. I should have run. Instead, I whispered, "What do you want?" My reflection didn't appear. But I heard the answer. A voice. Not from the room, but inside my head. Trade. I stumbled backward, knocking over a lamp. The room burst into chaotic shadows, flickering and long. I crawled out, breath catching in my throat, and slammed the door shut behind me. I didn't sleep after that. I watched the door all night, waiting for the knob to twist again. It didn't. But something much worse happened. In the morning, I checked my phone. There was a video in my camera roll. I hadn't taken it. It was a recording of me, sleeping. Same angle as before. But in this one, I wasn't alone. Something stood at the foot of the bed. Not moving. Not breathing. A tall, indistinct figure, smudged and flickering like corrupted film. And right before the video ended, it turned its head and looked directly into the camera. Like it knew. Like it wanted me to see it. I drove straight back to the antique shop. But it wasn't there. The street looked different. The buildings were the same, but where the store had been was just a brick wall. Solid, undisturbed, with no doorframe, no sign of entry. Like it had never existed. I even asked a homeless man nearby if he'd ever seen it. He gave me a confused look. That corner's been boarded up since the 90s, son. Nothing there but rats. My only lead was gone. I had nothing. Except the key. And the mirror that wanted me. That night, I decided to test something. I covered every mirror in the apartment, except the one in the bedroom. I turned off all the lights. And I sat down in front of the mirror at 2:55 a.m. I stared into it, unblinking, waiting. At exactly 3 a.m., the surface rippled. Not metaphorically, it literally moved like the surface of water. And then, finally, it came back. My twisted reflection. Except this time, it wasn't twisted. It looked exactly like me. No pale skin. No dead eyes. Perfect. Down to the last detail. But something was off. I couldn't explain it. Just a sense. Like the energy was wrong. Too still. Then it raised a hand. I didn't. It tilted its head. I didn't. And then it smiled. "Why do you pretend to be me?" I asked. Its mouth moved in perfect sync, repeating the question back. "Why do you pretend to be me?" I stood up suddenly. And the mirror self didn't. It just stared up at me from its sitting position, smile slowly widening. That's when I knew. It wasn't copying me anymore. It had its own agency. It was waiting. For the next few days, I stopped sleeping. I kept all the lights on, barricaded the mirror behind a wardrobe, and duct-taped the key above it like a holy charm. But the boundary was already weakening. I started seeing flashes of that dark stone room in reflective surfaces, spoons, puddles, windows. And sometimes, when I blinked, the wrong version of me would look back for just a split second before vanishing. It was stalking me, from my own reflection. 2 nights later, something happened that shattered what little control I had left. I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom, trying to avoid looking into the mirror. But I slipped. My eyes flicked up. And the reflection didn't show me. It showed a woman. Gaunt, bruised, wide-eyed. Her mouth opened in a silent scream. She slammed her hands against the inside of the mirror. Blood smeared across the glass. I turned away, nearly falling over. When I dared look back, she was gone. But the bloodstains remained, for a moment, before dripping backward, up the mirror, and vanishing into the blackness. I started researching mirror folklore obsessively. Turns out, cultures around the world have always feared mirrors. Some believed they trapped souls. Others, that mirrors are portals. Not to hell exactly, but to somewhere else. A shadow world. A reverse reflection of ours where things grow hungrier, watching, learning, mimicking us until they get strong enough to break through. And if they can replace you, you disappear. No body. No trace. Just another missing person, chalked up to tragedy. But you're not dead. You're trapped. In the other side. Where no one can hear you scream. Last night, I heard glass cracking. I ran to the bedroom, heart pounding, key clutched tight. The mirror was splitting, thin hairline fractures crawling across it like veins. From inside the cracks, I saw it. Dozens of eyes. All versions of me. Each one twisted, smiling, watching. Then a hand slammed against the other side of the mirror. A perfect copy of mine. And I heard a whisper, right behind my ear. Let me in. I turned. No one there. When I looked back, the glass was whole again. But the key had fallen off. It lay on the ground, burning hot to the touch. I think I've crossed some threshold now. The mirror doesn't reflect my world anymore. It reflects what's coming. And it wants me. Not to haunt. Not to kill. But to switch. And I don't know how many nights I have left before I wake up on the wrong side of the glass. They say mirrors don't lie. But mine has been practicing. It's been 3 nights since my reflection started acting on its own. 2 nights since the woman in the mirror screamed for help. And now, I think something has crossed over. Because last night, I saw myself walking through my apartment. And I was still in bed. I've stopped using the bedroom entirely. I locked the door. I bolted it. I even duct taped the frame and hung blankets over every reflective surface in the apartment. But it doesn't matter anymore. That version of me, it's out now. Walking. Learning. Wearing my skin like a suit that finally fits. Last night, I checked my phone. There was another video in the camera roll. I never touched the camera. It was of me, standing outside my building. Not sleeping. Not looking terrified like I should have been. Just standing. Still. Staring up at my apartment window. For 6 hours straight. I scrubbed through the footage, trying to convince myself it was some mistake. Until the figure outside raised a hand. And waved. At me. From the past. I rushed to the window. Of course, there was no one there. But on the glass, there was a smudge. The oily imprint of a hand. From the outside. The exact height. The same fingers. Except mine weren't cold. I did something desperate. I went back to that alley where the antique store once stood. The brick wall remained. But the air felt off. Thinner. Like something behind it was breathing slower than the world around it. I pressed the silver key to the brick. Just a desperate, irrational move. But the wall clicked. A section of it rippled, and a blackened doorway slid open, like some occult lock had been waiting for the right hand. Inside was the antique shop again. Dustier, dimmer, lit by candlelight. And behind the counter was the woman. The same one who gave me the key. But she looked older now. Or maybe not older, hollowed. Like time outside the mirror didn't pass the same way inside it. You came back, she whispered. I need to stop it, I said. The reflection. It's loose now. Her eyes flickered toward a large, cloth-covered frame on the wall behind her. You were warned. The key was only ever a delay, not a lock. It watches. It waits. When you look, it grows stronger. I didn't ask for this. I shouted. My voice cracked. What does it want? She looked at me with a mix of sorrow and guilt. It wants what all broken reflections want, balance. She uncovered the frame behind her. Another mirror. This one wasn't glass. It was obsidian, jet black, swirling, almost alive. Inside it, I saw dozens of faces. Mine. Twisted. Screaming. Like they were trapped behind the glass, pounding, eyes wild with terror. They've all been taken, the woman whispered. Some willingly. Others. Not. My knees nearly gave out. She placed something in my hand. A shard of mirror. About the size of a knife blade. Razor sharp. Cold as ice. You'll need this, she said. To fight it. No, she replied. To see the truth. When I returned home, it was just past 2:45 a.m. I sat on the couch, mirror shard in hand, breathing heavily. My entire body trembled, not from fear, but anticipation. I could feel the boundary about to thin again. At exactly 3 a.m., all the lights in the apartment flickered and went out. The bedroom door, the one I had locked, bolted, taped, creaked open. Slowly. I didn't move. Footsteps echoed from inside the room. But the carpet didn't muffle them. They were wet. Like bare feet dragging across damp stone. Then, my reflection walked into the hallway. Only, it wasn't using the mirror anymore. It looked exactly like me. But I knew instantly, it wasn't me. There was no life in the eyes. Its skin was too smooth. Its smile, perfectly symmetrical. It tilted its head. And then it spoke in my voice. You've lived long enough. It's my turn now. I raised the mirror shard. Its surface shimmered. For a second, just 1 second, I saw what it truly was. A twisted version of me, but with no eyes. Just hollow sockets, filled with black liquid that swirled like ink in water. It screamed when the shard reflected it. The sound didn't come from its mouth. It came from inside my skull. I stumbled backward, bleeding from my nose. It lunged. I ran to the bathroom, slammed the door shut, and pressed the shard to the mirror. Show me, I whispered. The mirror didn't reflect me anymore. It showed my apartment, but not the one I was in. A mirror version. Decayed. Old. Covered in moss and rot. Inside, I was tied to a chair. Mouth taped shut. Eyes wild with panic. Screaming behind silence. On the walls were pictures. All of me. Smiling. Happy. Only none of them were real. Because that thing, the reflection, it had taken my life and left me in a copy of my home that didn't belong to the living world. I looked up at the mirror. And the last thing I saw was my reflection smiling back at me. From behind my own eyes. It's inside now. The thing from the other side. I don't know how long I have left before I'm the one trapped permanently. It walks. It eats. It mimics. And soon, it'll forget it was ever a reflection. Because mirrors don't lie. Unless you leave them open too long. They say your reflection is just light. A simple bounce. An illusion on glass. But I know now, reflections remember. They record more than your movements. They store what you try to forget. What you hide from others. And from yourself. At 3 a.m. tonight, I'm not just watching the mirror. I'm stepping into it. Because I have to take my life back. Before I forget it was ever mine. The apartment is no longer safe. The moment I realized the reflection could exist outside the mirror, everything shifted. It walks through my life now like it owns it. Going to my job. Responding to my texts. laughing with my friends. All while I watch. Forgotten. I sleep on the floor of the living room, surrounded by mirror shards, facing the dark hallway where the bedroom mirror still hangs like an open wound. I haven't eaten. I barely sleep. But I've been watching it. And last night, it made a mistake. At 3 a.m., as always, the lights went out. But this time, instead of hiding, I watched the mirror directly. And what I saw made my blood freeze. It wasn't me anymore. Not a version. Not a mimic. It was him. The original. A boy, maybe 9 years old. Pale. So pale. With deep-set eyes like shadows carved into his face. He stood in the mirrored room, the other room, holding something wrapped in cloth. He slowly unwrapped it. It was my face. Not metaphorically. Not figuratively. He peeled my skin from the cloth like it was a latex mask and pulled it over his own. When he smiled, it fit too well. He looked into the glass and whispered, "You gave me your name the night you opened the door. You forgot." But I never did. I screamed. Not out of fear, but rage. I refused to be a shadow in my own life. So I made a decision. I was going back through. I gathered every reflective surface I had, shards, old compact mirrors, even my phone screen, and formed a circle around me on the floor. The obsidian shard the antique woman gave me. I held it to my chest and whispered the name I'd been hearing in dreams. Hollow. The lights blew out. The apartment plunged into darkness so thick it swallowed sound. Then came the whispers. 1,000 versions of my voice. Mocking. Crying. Screaming. Laughing. And then, a mirror on the wall began to drip. Like it was melting. I stood, walked toward it, and pressed my hand into the liquid glass. It felt like sinking into cold honey. Thick, numbing, electric. I fell through. When I opened my eyes, I was inside the mirror world. It was my apartment. But wrong. Colors were muted, as if time had bleached them. Furniture was warped. The walls breathed slowly, like lungs too tired to scream. And in the center of the room sat me, tied to the chair, like in the vision. Except this time, the figure in the chair looked older. Exhausted. Hollow-eyed. I walked closer and realized. That wasn't me. Not anymore. It was just a vessel. Used. Forgotten. Left behind by the thing now wearing my life. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind me. The reflection me stood there, wearing my skin. Smiling. "You were never meant to return," it whispered. I didn't answer. I pulled the obsidian shard from my pocket. Its edge glowed faintly red now. "You can't kill what's not real," it hissed. "I'm not here to kill you," I said. "I'm here to replace you." We fought. Not with fists, but with memories. It tried to strip mine from me. Each scream was a stolen moment. The first time I rode a bike. My dog's name. My mother's perfume. Gone. Forgotten. But I clutched one thing it didn't expect. The memory of the woman in the antique shop. Her face. Her warning. Her guilt. I drove the shard into the floor. The mirror world cracked. A great fracture split across the room like lightning across obsidian sky. The walls screamed. The furniture melted. And then, the reflection dropped to its knees. It looked up at me with my own eyes, pleading. "Please, don't send me back. I just wanted to exist." I hesitated. But only for a moment. "I do exist. You were never me." I reached out and pulled the face off him like a curtain of lies. It screamed and dissolved into mist. I woke up in my bed. Real morning light bleeding through real curtains. No buzzing. No whispers. No 3 a.m. distortions. Everything was normal. Or so I thought. That was 2 weeks ago. I've rebuilt. Talked to friends again. Gone to work. Eaten meals that didn't taste like ash. But sometimes, when I pass a mirror, I see something strange. Not myself. But a crack. Hairline thin. Barely visible. Just enough to suggest that something somewhere still remembers. And one night soon, at exactly 3 a.m., it may try again. Because mirrors don't just reflect what is. They remember what was. And worse. They wait.